plan the Indianapolis event. Yes,
What?
get this on recording. Rebecca planned the Indianapolis event and she spoke at it. Now,
You did,
we
Rebecca?
we've heard her stories before because we get this like special time with her. So she's told a story about the girls walking. Remember when like
Getting lost?
daughter didn't want to keep walking and she's
Yeah.
like, either keep going or just stay here. She told that story. It was just really good. So way to go, Rebecca.
That's so cool. I love how you said it, Sarah. Like we get her all to herself right here. But
Yeah, is Lauren on yet? Like Lauren, well, Amy, yeah. But like Lauren turned around, she goes, it's the girl story. And I was like, oh, it's the girl story. And like we were just so excited for her. So but funny story, she put up a picture of all like her nieces and her children, and everyone in the audience was like, she has 7 daughters. And we were like, so I don't know if
I
you heard
hadn't
us
quite
whispering.
made it to that point in the story
Right.
that the picture wasn't all just my children. It was also my sister and her 4 children. But everybody, then I realized like, oh, everyone's looking at that picture and they're like, oh my God. But I had to clarify that.
Yeah.
that's fun. Well, good. Well, it's so good to see everybody here. Every time we reconnect, I'm like, oh man, I miss you all. But Rebecca and I we know that everyone has such a full plate right now. But we thought it'd be fun to come on and just give us some quick inspirational messages. And I wanted to start by thanking Rebecca for taking the time to do those videos. Sometimes I don't even see them until like late in the day or maybe even the next morning, but your words are always super powerful. And I love the little homework attached. It inspires me to take some action. So thanks for doing that in our Messenger thread. And if you are someone that's not on Messenger a ton, it's worth going back to look at Rebecca's daily dose of inspiration and action for us to take. So thank you for that.
You are so welcome.
You good, Mouse?
Well, very fun. Well, we can
Doing
get
okay?
started. I know Leah and I and a few of us and Sarah and we're just on another call quickly just to listen in on Team Cup. And I just wanted to share, holy cow, I forget how busy August is until I get to this month every year. And for me, well, the back to school season is one of our busiest times at Target. And we work a lot. Amanda would attest to that too. And it's been a different, I've been talking to Nate about it because my heart is so much here and my heart is with my Target team all the time, but it's been like, I feel like a little bit of a mental struggle because I want to be pouring into all of you and all of this all the time. And I've not been able to do that this month. But anyway, it's also been helping me think about, okay, what is my audience going through and feeling? And probably the same, like all the hustle and bustle of getting our kids back to school and well, all the teachers out there that are doing the same for themselves. And also, I don't know, for me, every summer, I have a lot of fun. And I always feel this time of summer, I'm ready to take care of my body again and fuel it with the best stuff. So I love to start talking more about nutrition and things like that too. So anyway, the point of me sharing all this stuff just really quick before Rebecca speaks is just of course give yourself grace, but also be thoughtful about like other people are experiencing probably similar cycle of the year in their own homes. But having us keep showing up positively will help them, I think, and as well as ourselves be rejuvenated as we start new school years and hopeful that we are not off track. We're normal and we can this is our compass we get to come back to and get back on track. So, and then the last thing I wanted to share is every time I've been going on Instagram, I feel like I keep getting the right message. That's the first message, whether it's from like Jay Shetty or Mel Robbins or whoever. But some of the messages this week has been about like, if you're pursuing a dream that makes you feel like, am I even good at this? Or like, if it makes you feel like you question yourself, then you're actually on the right track. Because it's so easy, well, as we all know, that to be hard on ourselves when we're not getting the result maybe that we're working towards right off the bat. But um, anyway, I just thought that was such a great reminder because even I know I have been doing this a long time and all that good stuff, but some days I'm like, oh my gosh, no one's responding, or um, I sent the links and they haven't completed them, or whatever that is. And that really has nothing to do with what my purpose or dream really is. And so staying the course and learning from those moments are so huge. But I just thought that was a really cool message I held on to this past week around then I'm in the right spot if I'm feeling like it's hard sometimes, if that makes sense. So, okay, I will pass it on to Rebecca, unless anyone has anything to add, or maybe it's just me sharing how I feel lately, but uh, we're all in this together.
And I think that, to second what you were saying in the beginning, it was a conversation that many of us were having at Super Weekend and it was a conversation that I had with Julie earlier in this week, that this beginning phase of August, it's either if you're not back to school yet, you're enjoying your last weeks of summer vacation. If you are back to school, it's back to school and you're like in deep and you suddenly have a backpack full of papers you got to fill out, getting back into the routines and all of that. And as we move towards September, as we get towards the end of August, people start settling into their routines. People start getting into the groove of it. Labor Day's coming, the end of summer's here. Okay, just like what Megan was saying, it's time to get back to it. And the beginning of August can feel slower, like what the heck? And then the end of August, the coaches that are still showing up are the ones that are like, oh, August was a great month for me. The ones that quit halfway through because it's slow and hard, they're no longer showing up. So when those people are ready, you're no longer the person coming up in their newsfeed. Just like Megan said, the messages she needs to hear are coming up on her first message on Instagram. You're that person for someone else too. And so, yes, be transparent and vulnerable about these harder times for you, or these transition times for you, or when you fall off the plan that you had. Fall off, I hate that term. Where the plan doesn't go the way you thought it was going to go with your fitness and nutrition. What do? Give people that advice, those tips, those perspectives, these quotes that you're hearing that are resonating with you. Share those out with other people, because your message is going to hit somebody on their first message when they open their social media, in the same way that these other people's messages are hitting Megan, and you're going to be the person that they think of, that they reach out to, that they connect with, that they decide to join. But they can't get that message coming up on their feed if you're not posting it. So that is an important reminder to keep showing up and staying consistent. And then the other piece that you were talking about the messages that you're getting about dreaming. It's ironic that my whole speech today was about dreaming. That was our theme at the Indie Super Weekend. And as you were sharing those thoughts, I was like, oh my gosh, I shared 2 quotes today that go right along with that. This was not part of what I was going to share today, but because you said it, I had to share it. This was one of them. That any attempt to bring our ideas into concrete reality must inevitably fall short of our dreams, no matter how brilliantly we succeed in carrying things off, because reality, unlike fantasy, is a realm in which we don't have limitless control and can't possibly hope to meet our perfectionist standards. If you're procrastinating on something because you're worried you won't do a good enough job, you can relax, because judged by the flawless standards of your imagination, you definitely won't do a good enough job. So you might as well make a start. And the whole idea of that, the whole premise of that quote is, so often that we get these dreams that we're like, get excited about something, and then we don't start, or we quit because we're like, gosh, this is not going how I thought it was going to go, or this is harder than I thought, or this is not panning out the way that I thought it was going to. And so we quit because we're measuring our actual action based on these perfectionist visions in our head. And what he's saying is, guess what? It's never going to go like that. It's never going to go like that, because in your fantasy, in your dream, it blocks out all these limits that we really have in real life. And in real life, you have these limits and these things that you're coming up against, and these hard times and these seasons of life where everything is just chaos. So it's not going to be perfect, but you might as well start. Otherwise, what's the point? This dream is just going to sit in there, and then you're going to be one of those people that at the end of your life be like, gosh, I wish I would have done that. Like you all you have is right now. You don't know when the end of your life is going to be. So go after it. And the second one was one that Carl shared on his stories. I think I shared this in the feed as well, but it's worth sharing again. Most people quit things because they aren't yet seeing gratifying rewards based on the effort they're putting in. But what if you knew with 100% certainty that every success comes from the ability to keep going when things are difficult and not rewarding? People who succeed find gratification in the fact that they didn't quit. They just keep going and keep getting stronger. Real strength doesn't come from winning. Real strength comes from persevering through struggle, hardship, pain, and suffering. Real strength comes from never giving up. The best gratification, that silent personal feeling of I'm really doing this, comes from being on a mission and recognizing that each day you won't quit. And I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. The only difference between you and someone who is quote unquote living your dream life, or have the things that you want in your life, or have reached the success in this business or another business, or their career or their family or their relationships or the finances that you desire, is they just didn't quit. And that leads into actually what I actually wanted to share when I messaged Megan today. Okay, so I read this book, 4,000 Weeks, and I read it in like 4 days. And I don't read books that quickly, like ever. Like I'm like a 10-page a day kind of girl, right? I read this book in 4 days because I'm freaking obsessed with it. But I'm going to warn you, this was a suggestion from my brother, and my brother would make a great coach, but he's not. And he is also obsessed with personal development. So you get him and I in a room. Like I went to a lemonade stand after Super Weekend, and it was at his house. His son was doing a lemonade stand, and him and I were just back behind the lemonade stand talking personal development and talking quotes and talking authors and talking books. And Kayla and his wife were like, what are they? Just ignore them. Like, what are they talking about? Anyways, him and I were going to go to Summit of Greatness together. That's who was going to go with me. But this book was a recommendation from him. And I love getting recommendations from him because he's outside the Beachbody world. So he doesn't have the same vibe. He's not connecting with the same people that kind of everyone's connecting with. And he's like, I think you should really get 4,000 Weeks. It's really, really good. But I'm going to warn you, it's going to be really, really hard for you to read. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get it because you told me it was going to be hard for me to read. So I get it thinking it's going to be 8,000 pages and like really, really deep. And I could not put it down because it is really, really deep, and it is a complete mind F of everything like that you know about time management, how you talk about time, how you live in time. Like it is wild, and it's deep in that sense. So if you're not open to maybe changing your perspective of how you think about time, I wouldn't suggest picking it up. But the conversations that he brings up and the points that he brings up are very countercultural and yet very much rooted in truth. And so it's an interesting read. It's a different read. It is based on, it's called Time. The subtitle is Time Management for Mortals. And that's all I can tell you about it, because anything else I would just keep talking forever. But the actual quote that I wanted to share when I read this was, what, Avery? It's in your top bunk. That's Avery, the one that was complaining on the road, on the path. He was talking about how one of the biggest downfalls in humanity right now is our lack of patience, just overall lack of patience. And he shared this principle that he calls originality lies on the far side of unoriginality. And what he explains is this metaphor that this artist, I guess, photographer, depicted this parable. And it's the fact that when in the city, there's 24 bus stops, okay? The first like half of them, all the buses leave the station and they go through all 12 because they're very highly populated. So a lot of people move in those first 12 bus stops. And after the first 12 bus stops, the buses kind of go off on their different routes. But the first 12, all the buses, when they leave the station, they go through all of them because it's such a busy, loaded area. And a lot of people are moving within those first 12 stops. And the parable, I guess he shares, is that imagine that those bus stops are like years of your life, or years in your career, or you could years in your Beachbody coaching business, whatever, years in your health and fitness. And what happens is that when you take off, you go and you're like on the same stops as everybody else, right? And so there's this person that he was saying that got on the bus stops. He was a photography student. So he got on these bus stops, right? He was going through these years in his photography career. And he was like 6 years into his photography career. And he took his photograph to a mentor of his and basically was trying to get feedback on his photography. And the mentor said, your work looks exactly like some other photographer. And so what the guy hears was, I just spent 6 years of my life working on photography and you're saying it looks like a copy of someone else. Well, I guess I have to go back to the beginning. And he gets back on the very first bus stop and starts over again. And this time he's going to go through a different genre of photography. Instead of taking realistic photography, he's going to take black and white photography or something. I don't know that much about photography, but he's going to go on a different route. And his whole point of it is that the only way that you become original, the only way that you become your authentic self, the only way that you become that person who health and fitness looks like such an easy thing and such a joy, and you know exactly what you're doing and you know what works for your body, and those people that can go out to dinner without reading the menu first and can indulge in a meal and not feel guilt and shame, and these coaches that just kind of show up and they're just like themselves and they can just be themselves and just like do whatever they don't seem to be following the vital behaviors. They're just like leaning into like what they love and like it just works for them. The difference, and he uses the words, stay on the fucking bus, because it's after the first 12 stops that the buses diverge into different areas. And so he says, if you have the patience if you can muster the patience to immerse yourself in the earlier stages, the trial and error phase of copying others, the learning new skills phase, the accumulating experience phase, that's when you become yourself within that career, within that business, within that whatever, health and fitness space. When you become your own self, you have to go through those bus stops that everyone takes. So especially when you're beginning as a coach, or you feel like you're in those first like early years of coaching, and I'm not talking about early months of coaching, I'm talking about early years of coaching, and you feel like it's like copy and paste and like everybody's doing the same thing, and when am I going to figure out when I fit in and where I fit in and how I fit in? You could equate this to any kind of business or any kind of career. You got to stay on the fucking bus, because it's the 12-year mark, the 6-year mark, the 12-year mark, whatever that looks like. It doesn't have to be years. Those stops that you get to, and you finally start to live into your own authentic self. And once you start living into your own authentic self, it's like magic. You're like, where has this been my whole life? But if you don't stay on the bus long enough and you keep starting over and starting over and starting over and trying this, I'm just going to start over. I'm just going to start over, instead of just staying on, just not quitting, then you're finally going to feel that freedom that comes from feeling who you actually are. And I'll say that this also is true with personal development, because I've seen it happen over and over and over again. The coach who picks up this trendy book because everybody's reading Kendra Hall, everybody's reading whatever, and they like can't get into it, but they read it, it's okay. And then they read the next trendy book and it's okay. And they don't really feel like it's really doing anything. They kind of think it's dumb, but they're just doing it because they're supposed to. And then they look and they're like, okay, this isn't working to me. So they go back to the very first book that was so trendy, You Are a Badass or something, thinking that reading it another time, this is what I need to do. And then they read the same sequence of books over again. Or they can't get into a book, so they just start it all the way over. And they start it all the way over. Instead of just keeping going, finding new authors, keep finding new recommendations, keep going on your personal development journey. Maybe you explore with podcasts. Maybe you might do those trendy books, those that, as he calls, the copy and paste stuff in the beginning, right? The copying what other people are doing in the beginning. And then you start to find your own groove, and you start to find where you actually thrive. And once you stay on it and you keep going, the freedom and the authentic self that's underneath those first 6-12 stops in your journey is amazing. The problem is most people, as he said, they don't have the patience to stay on the bus. And then they keep spinning their wheels and spinning their wheels and spinning their wheels and feel like they're on this hamster wheel of life, because they keep taking the same bus route over and over and over again. So if you feel like you're in that space, whether it be in your career, whether it be in your Beachbody coaching business, whether it be in your health and fitness, whether it be in your personal development. My encouragement for you today is to keep going. Stay on the bus because it's worth it, because you're worth it. And going back to what Megan was saying in the beginning about your dreams, and it's hard, and we're in this crazy season of life, and we just want to, I don't even know what to do. I want to quit. I don't want to show up. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. So is everybody else. If you keep going, you get to learn something about yourself. And as you learn something about yourself and you learn something about this journey, you then get to pay that forward and you get to help someone else. So keep going. I know you're halfway through the month, and the first half of the month might have not been what exactly you thought it was going to be. But I want to encourage you today to stay on the bus. The end.
Woohoo! So good.
And if you read 4,000 Weeks, you have to tell me, because I have to talk to somebody about it. Like, that's what my brother and I were talking about today, because I just, like, with a really good movie that you're just like, I have to talk about it, but I can't tell anybody what it's about because they need to watch it too. That's what I feel about this book.
Who's the author?
Oliver Burkeman.
Okay.
I have like every page flagged, everything's, all of my content for the next like month is going to come out of this book. So if you read my social media, you'll pick up on it, but it's crazy. And for somebody who likes to like time block and schedule and productivity and time management, that was the most difficult part for me to read, because I was like, oh, this is going against everything I do and I can't undo it, but I have to undo it because now I've seen it and I can't unsee it. Anyways.
So good. So good. Barb, were you anything else, or does anyone want to share anything or any questions, or did this resonate tonight with anyone?
I mean, yeah, go ahead, Barb.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm interested in that book. Time management and how people think of it, and then kind of rework your brain. And I think that's good, especially leading into the school year, because I know that that's a huge discussion that I have with a lot of parents, like right from the beginning when the kids are little. And it sometimes floors me when they say, you know, well, how do you? And I don't know, I guess it would be interesting to have a different outlook on things to maybe share with them. Hard facts, right? Real life.
It would be, I would be really interested for a teacher, you, another teacher, to read it and hear your perspective on it. I think that most people, it's a hard concept to grasp, because we're so normalized to the idea of time, I guess I would say. Like, I forget how my brother explains it, like absolute truths and relative truth. And absolute truths are things like rocks are hard and water is wet. It's like absolute truth, but time is actually a relative truth. And how we actually think about time is a relative truth. There's no actual truth in time. And so you can't actually manage time, and you can't actually take time or spend time. And so his whole concept around time is just like, whew. And I don't know that I can 100% like fall into what he's saying, like align with what he's saying, but it definitely has caused me to sit back and think, and 100% a perspective shift on time and everything I've learned about time, everything I learned about Brad about time management and to-do list. And it's just like, I couldn't put the book down. So
yeah, that's kind of how I felt with that book, 4 Agreements. Like, there were parts in that book that I was like, oh yeah. And then there were other parts where I couldn't get on board with the things that they were saying, or that you should do, or think, or whatever. But the idea, the conversation of it was very interesting and eye-opening, and that people might or do think that way. Like, it's okay, like you said, to not get into a book or not be on board with the whole thing, but you definitely learn from it either way. So
I feel like I could reread like so many books. I love the Four Agreements too. Yeah. Amanda, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, things I needed to hear that message about not starting over, because I think mid-month, if I don't reach my goals, like whether it's at Target or through coaching, I'm like, okay, got to start over. And really, if I just stay the course and keep showing up, I was originally kind of annoyed because at my dad's 60th birthday, all my parents' neighbors and my mom's friends are like, we love seeing your post. You're so inspirational. And like, that made me feel good, but at the same time, it's been a couple months where I haven't been able to sign anybody up. So I'm like, okay, so you love my posts, but you don't want to join my team. So it's just like that. I gotta keep showing up, and then I'll be the first person they think of when they're ready. Clearly, they're not ready, and I can't force them to be ready. So I just have to keep, what I'm doing isn't wrong. I just have to keep showing up, and then hopefully I'll be the person that they think of by the end of the month.
Yes, for sure. And you did help Lori last month, don't forget. Good
Yeah,
job.
but for my goals in my head that I
Right.
wanted to do 3, so, but yeah, thanks for sharing that message.
Yeah, I know the staying on the bus totally resonated with me. Like, I feel the shift, like right now happening from not jumping off the bus. Like, I'm still here. It's been 7 years. I'm still here, and I'm smashing through some fears that have definitely been holding me back. And that's been really fun and exciting to do.
Yay, that's so fun. And it's so fun to see you get back into it, Amy, and be part of this with us. And you come into the event, like it was just, I'm so cheering for you. I'm so excited for you. I can see it, I can feel it. It's fun.
Thank you. And you guys are a huge part of that. As I was drying my hair this morning, I just thought back to like getting to talk to so many of you guys at Summit, and just the community, but also like when you come together and you feel the support and encouragement of other women rooting you on, like it also just builds your confidence to keep going and to take it to the next level. So I just appreciate everybody in this thread.
That's awesome. And I agree. Good job. Anyone else have anything before we hop off?
well, I have one question, Megan. We kind of talked about it. Not sorry about what we were talking about, but for Team Cup, I am not getting my team's results. So sorry, Leah. I have called and I've sent emails, and the gal that I spoke to today, I don't know that she really understood what I was asking, because by the end she just kept telling me that I'll get my next update on August 19th. And I said, well, that's great, but I haven't gotten one on the 5th or the 12th. So I don't know my team's points. And she just kept reiterating back to that. And then finally, I think she was tired and answering my question, or she couldn't answer my question. So she's like, okay, if that's the only question you have, then we could probably say goodbye. And I'm like, but I don't know my team's points. So I just dialed the 470-7870, clicked on the one that had to do with coach tools and relations, and then got to somebody, but I don't know that was the direction. So I don't know who else to contact. I have any other team captains or is anybody else having this issue?
So a couple things. One, I'm assuming you've checked like your spam and such.
Yes, because I got the
2,
one on August 1st, but I've got nothing again.
okay, so you don't have any of your email settings turned off.
Nothing.
And then that was the other thing I was going to ask that Sarah asked, because I know in the past they've sent the Team Cup email like points recap to everybody on the team. Yeah. So Sarah's not the Team Cup, not the team captain, but she's getting the emails. So is anybody on your team getting those emails?
Are you getting them, Leah?
interesting.
Amanda, what about you? Like, I know Aaron set up, it's Aaron, Barb, and I are the captain, so I've been getting mine. Or
I'll be
Kelly.
honest. Usually Sunday night after the call, I look at all my emails on my personal, so I can check and let you guys know.
Yeah, check with your other teammates and see if they're getting them.
Okay.
If nobody is getting them, let me check on the bottom of that email and see who it says to contact.
It doesn't say
Kelly.
anybody. I mean, the one on the first gave like 2 blue things that you could like click on, but it wasn't anything.
Oh, Barb, I have some emails.
Is it your
Like with
team?
this, do you need? You probably can't see it. I'll screenshot it and send it to you and
Oh, yeah,
see
I
if
think
it's
I could
helpful.
see that. That's it though, Amanda.
But that's what you have, right, Megan?
Yeah, but that's good because Amanda, are you on Barb's team or Aaron's team?
Aaron.
But the point is just your team's probably getting results than Barb. And
But
some,
Leah's
But
not.
Leah didn't get them.
oh,
Did Nate get them?
I could ask Nate, but he
Yeah.
deletes everything. Like he deletes texts and email. I know that sounds like mischievous, but he just doesn't like holding on to things. But I'll check.
Yeah, I think they come out on Friday evenings.
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah, because she said the 19th was the next one. And I'm like, well, can you tell me my team's points? Well, you have to wait for your update. I'm like, but I didn't get my update.
I mean, but you could so basically you get points for help, selling total solution packs,
Right.
or you get a point for going to the next year summit. So you could, in our team, like I said on the text earlier, like in our team messenger thread, you could ask your teammates how many people they've helped.
Well, I know, but as captain, I feel like that's my job to know. So then I can
know,
do my
but
shout outs to people. And I mean, that's the whole point. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to have to ask them what they've done. I want to be able to see it and then woohoo.
Yeah. Bye, Lori. Have a good week.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Barb, I'll text you. It says some random things, like I just clicked on troubleshooting at the bottom of that email and tech support, and it said something about clearing cookies and all this other stuff. So I'll screenshot it and maybe we could see if that would work for your team, if anybody.
I just don't know why I would get the August 1st one saying, welcome,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And I get all my other team coach, team relation, nation, everything, all my other emails.
I can see Rebecca reading fast, reading at work right now,
Right.
trying to find.
Yeah.
I looked at my Team Cup email and I couldn't see like a contact email. Like sometimes for special events, it'll be like contact us at.
I
Like
just even like the August 1st one, like I just responded and then
oh, that's a good idea.
yeah, and I took it and made a new email too and sent it to them and still haven't. So.
Are you just missing the one that says week 2 Team Cup points and tips?
And week 1.
Oh, okay. I'm just also reading the fine print and the thing
Yeah.
to see if I can see anything.
So. I mean, you guys don't have to waste your Sunday evening, but if anybody finds anything,
You got it.
Just
We'll
let
look
me
out for you. Okay.
Well, and Barb, I
Look
mean,
at
I can look in my coach office because I think everyone on your team is in our posse, right? I think so.
man, Amy, Leah, Nate, me.
Yeah. So I can look. I mean, I can just look in the morning and tell you like any points or whatever. So you could still recognize them. I don't think anyone has any though, to be honest, because I look at the office all the time, except
Okay.
you, which is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, Barb's already helped 3 people, guys.
I know, I'm
saw
so
that.
jealous. Good job.
That's awesome.
It's just kind of like we've been talking about the perseverance thing, right? Like you just You never know.
Going.
You have a
Trying-
month where you're like, feel like you're obsolete and then kicks
Yep.
back in.
But you've done a lot of cool things, I think, with Reels and like your new updated team page on Facebook. You're sharing lots of good stuff there.
I hope so. I'd like to think that all those different things have
I think so.
is
That's
what
what-
done it.
I think
That's
like
for
what Rebecca
sure.
said, like when whoever follows you, when they open up their social, like they see you.
Yeah.
So, and Jim now too.
Oh God, you guys, he's so hilarious. It's like a comedy show when we work out together. I can't even tell you.